as we were discussing, we're going to talk about the stagnating energy versus those who don't stagnate, but I'm going to do some storytelling. So let me just double check where we are at. Okay, because I have a couple of channeled guidance messages that we won't get through today as the sun is going down. We'll get through them tomorrow or on Monday. In the meantime, welcome anybody who's new. So when you are mindfully or spiritually living, it is because of the capacity to have your inner child adult in the forefront, be a differentiated self, and you are being yourself with flaws and integrity. So you don't stagnate in your wounds. You know how they have rejection, abandonment, injustice, betrayal, humiliation, shame. Okay, so the people who, instead of going to good therapy and then getting to become mindfully aware, and to be able to navigate the self, so know thyself, they don't choose the wisdom of emotions and body and mind. So they don't choose to do dharma and move into this. It's a lot of different types of pieces that I bring to you, sciences and spirituality. I'm attachment trauma informed, and as a self-help life coach, holistic coach, a lot of different words, Reiki master. Okay, but I'm a 5D mystic. I'm in the Enlightenment Soul Age group, and I'm a feminine. So I'm channeling also as a feminine and not masculine. There is a difference. And so I feel the energetic imprint. You're going to hear me use a lot of different words. If you have questions, you can ask. Okay. So the story that I was beginning to give you is this. We all have the 0-1-year-old attached panicky is how I'm going to put it. But when you own it, it means you're your own safe haven, secure base. So I can be Maria and have emotions and grow. I can keep on growing the intelligence I am because I'm transforming by witnessing in my prefrontal cortex the emotions that come up, the thoughts, and not throwing my ego self at another, but being aware of it. So my flaws and my integrity are that I can be humble. With the energetic imprint of humble doesn't mean right or wrong. It means that I'm in an equanimous, neutral stance because I know the balance between being me and forgiveness. And forgiveness is not I owe you something and you owe me something. Nobody owes anyone anything. So when I've been unseen and unsoothed, so people that I've opened my heart to have not had a emotional, mental interest in having what is called a functional adult. The inner child adult is able to have that. And that is the life of true spirituality. And that is because solo self has meaning beyond their self. So their open heart is going to show you if they're able to be emotionally available to others. And the people who are in the Enlightenment Soul Age group, we are here. So we're able to be, again, open to other. Feminines are nurturers, by the way. So we know how to nurture our own selves and then maintain that emotional, mental, physical mastery if we don't distort broken heart. So some feminines, they do, and they become just as egoic as the masculines. So the distorted energies of both are going to be present and in your awareness if you're a 5D mystic in the Enlightenment Soul Age group, or a 5D functional adult who's a somatic empath. So you have the care of mindful awareness around you and with people. Okay, so when I have had the capacity to understand I mean nothing to this human being, emotionally, mentally, if I'm dying under a bridge, they don't care. I have been able to process the emotional components in time, because it always takes that time. And that's because you accept and respect, again, what a person wants. So true love is where I love, accept, and respect your emotional expression. I don't go tell you you have to do therapy, you have to be better, you have to. No. Your well-being is of your own interest or not, because the mental health is your own well-being, not mine. And if you haven't broken any laws, I don't have to call the cops. I don't have to do so. I, as a citizen of this world who has empowerment, will know that I'm not going to be engaging with a person by doing what those who have the mantles do. Okay, so we know how to just share with someone if it's okay, the behavior not okay. So the minute that I know, though, you've told me you don't mean anything, you are a nuisance to me, I don't want you in my life, you are different, I want you to change, many different ways it can be. You're not going to keep on trying to build the heart-to-heart relationship. You're going to know that it's not one. Okay, so with that being said, The people who own their inner child adults can do what I just described. So you don't change who you are. You are a person who has taken the lead of your future, your destiny. You own the mind, you own the heart, you own the body. You're mindfully living, spiritually living. So you're always forgiving your own past mistakes. They're not mistakes, but others yours. And you're able to expand for them as yourself. So you consistently maintain expansion of consciousness as being yourself. And that's also what I get to share with you. It's really fun. So a whole 3-year-old heart, a whole 1-year-old heart, and a whole inner child adult is present in front of you, differentiated self, and being me with equanimity is something fun. I get to continue having bliss and delight grow when life's unknowns hit. And then I continue to bring compassion and to rock and roll at passion and intellect with the masculines who are also open hearts, open minds. So, open heart, open mind, masculine and feminine, especially mystics, when we get together, it's a high. We did a bunch of songs yesterday that I told you match the frequency. It's really fun. So, one of them was The Way You Look Tonight. The one about You May Be Right, I May Be Crazy. So The Way You Look Tonight is Frank Sinatra. The You May Be Right, You May Be Crazy is Billy Joel. Then we had the A Boy Went Back to Napoli. No, no, no. So that's Mambo Italiano. We have also Sway, When the Rhythm Wants to Sway, Michael Bublé. Under My Skin, Young at Heart. Fairy tales can be true. They can happen to you when you're young at heart. Okay, so back to our story so that I can conclude before the lights go out. Okay, so when you have this, the adolescent brain, the whole inner child heart, and you're not in the adolescent age group, but you still own the essence of the adolescent you, because integration of brain is that you're capable to be in a physiological state of compassion in your prefrontal cortex, and you are creating meaningful connections. So you're okay with those who don't create heart-to-heart connections. You're not going to hold it against the person that they have unresolved trauma and they've shut themselves out from themselves and others. You may not know it in the moment, but today in the year 2024 you will. So if you're a person who's educated, empowered, and equanimous, you're not going to be bitter. You're going to be in this. It's going to be a very straightforward choice because you're a person who can do wisdom from the heart and mind. That's mindful living. So you transmute in awareness, emotions. Maximum certainty doesn't destabilize you. You don't get dysregulated. You are able to make intelligence because anything that comes your way, you're able to transform it from your thoughts because you see your emotions. And here's why ego self harmony, feminine, masculine harmony, masculine, feminine. Okay. When people don't do this, the story is so one of my lovely friends, and I'm just going to bring it all together. Any of you who regularly tune in, it's not going to be as detailed. They have a rejection. We're just going to use the rejection wounds. Okay, so they want to match society. So when masculines don't empower themselves and when feminine also don't empower, they're going to be the 1 to 8. The unconscious of them is leading what they wanted to do at home. So to save their self, a good therapist like a Patrick Tiahan would be great. Once they're ready to forgive their home and society and whatever their trauma break, trust break, whatever it was, whatever it is that was charged, and they're ready to balance forgiveness consistently, then they will be in our 5D frequency. Until then, they will want and desire in their body a very different thing. It's called that they are navigating beneath neutrality with this justice, injustice, the charge. Okay, so they are going to vibe 3D, 4D, modulated embodiment, not restorative embodiment self. Okay, so they don't regulate into the restorative embodiment, into their social engagement, into their ventral vagal. They don't mindfully become aware of what their body is doing and their mind is doing so that they can bring in that, again, wisdom, beauty, and expansion of consciousness. So when a person has abandonment wounds, they will tend to have a clown attitude, rejection, abandonment. So fear of rejection, fear of abandonment. Okay, so I create, I'm going to just give you a scenario. I'm a masculine, I create, and I'm a man. I'm a masculine, I create relationships out of convenience. So I look and see with my eyes. That's why I don't love, like the Rumi quote, with my heart. So whenever you're not near me, I don't see you. I don't give a shit, whatever's going on. If you write me, I'm going to be cold, distant. I'm going to, again, not give two rats about any of it. So that's how people can behave, masculines, feminines alike, not men, women, anyone. Anyone who is a person who's unavailable to have clear communication, by the way, okay? And that has the 1 to 8 and that 16-year-old, and they're called low self-esteem, indirect communicators, passive aggressive. And in fact, the story is this: I get to understand that my mental and emotional self, and me, Maria, is not of interest. And this has happened more than once, but I'm using one story. Not of interest to a human being that I love. To this day, we're friends. We made up. We were able to patch things up. So I realized that there's a treatment that is not what I am okay with, because although I'm okay with us all being flawed and imperfect, so I already knew that my friend built relationships based on convenience. This was something in my peripheral view. The fact is that they are not addressing something that is very clear to them because they know me so well. So they know my heart well, they know my mind, but they know me. And so they're not addressing the emotional rupture that has been taking place. So for a certain amount of years, we don't chit chat. But as a mystic, 7 days prior to them reaching out, I knew something was up. Also, in between, in these 5 years, I get a passive aggressive message, so I don't block them like on MSN. They don't, they don't need to be blocked. The people who block each other, they don't handle emotional, mental conversations with equanimity. It dysregulates, upsets. When you know how to regulate yourself, you're going to be able to communicate independently from what is taking place, because you want to talk. Okay? And so that's the other part. People who are passive aggressive. So I get this comment of, are you happy now? About what? I'm being cheated on. No, I'm not happy. You obviously don't know me. So even this is an equation of a human being who's calling a person who they've known their entire life. I've known this person since I was 15, pretty much. So now we're in our late 20s. It's been however many years since I decided we're not on talking basis because of this thing that took place where I was completely disregarded in my emotional experience of something that's very important. You didn't address it with me. You didn't repair it. You didn't show me appreciation. You showed me facade, pretense, and then you even made it seem like I'm making a big deal out of something. Okay, so these are all aspects that any one of us can have experienced, like we can also have been perceived. I've had people accuse me of that. And when that has happened with one of my consistent, we're friends, I said, this is who I am. That I don't do things on purpose about communicating. So I and you see friendship differently and communication. I will not be able to give you this type of communication. What you're seeking from me will not be possible. I'm addressing it. I'm not minimizing their emotions. I'm addressing it and sharing, this is who I am. It doesn't have to match you. I can understand. I'm giving the person the time to understand they are important, they are valued, but I will not be able to match what you're seeking from me. And that doesn't mean that they like it. So when people accuse me, they have, and they do, people accuse when they're reactive, you're doing this on purpose. You're trying to upset me. I've said, if you think that I'm trying to upset you on purpose, we should not be friends, for number one, because you're making a very grave accusation, which is that I am actively trying to hurt your feelings. So I find this very much not friendship. And therefore, I will remove myself gladly from this situation due to the fact that you have no trust in what we are. Now, if a person continues to want to harp their horn, they could easily twist that conversation in however many ways they want. This is the part of when you have an adaptive child part, they're rigid, unforgiving, they're already in yellow or red. They're offline. They're not with you. They're in structural dissociation, and they're playing out their own attachment system from their 0-1 to their 8. And then they're 8 to 16, because if you've got a grown human being in front of you, you're not going to have any of what I just described. You're not even going to have you're doing it on purpose. So somebody who's doing shame, blame, fault, revenge, and doing any kind of spit spat like that is a non-regulated person who they might be avoidant, they might be, ambivalent, they might be disorganized. They don't have a secure attachment self. They're not an inner child adult. They don't know how to regulate when they get emotional, and they use shame, blame, fault, which is a shame cycle. So the pattern is pretty straightforward for anybody who is attachment trauma informed, and I love that as a person, I can share with you because the handling of any of this has always been the same. I am coming with integrity as Maria. You don't have to like me. I'm not going to bow down with guilt or shame or anger or upset. I'm going to present to you my side. This is functional adult language. So, my friend, he does this passive aggressive thing. I said, I'm sorry you're being cheated on. I'm not here for, I don't know what you want me to do. Not happy about it. You should know me better than that. And we leave it alone. And 2 or 3 years later, they come back around because they are in the shithole. So here's also, by the way, how masculines get kind of, life tries to say, okay, get out of the ego, get ego self balance, become your own full fledged piece of life. So get out of your attachment system without having noticed your emotional stuff, which is why good therapy. Own your sense of self, own yourself, learn from your mistakes. They don't have to be mistakes. In fact, they're not. When you expand yourself from them, they're not going to be seen as mistakes. They're going to be seen as things you have learned from, because you always have your emotions and thoughts. They're not irrefutable facts. You witness, you process, you bring them forth, and that's it. You're done. And you do it again and again. And that's you using prefrontal cortex, and that's what mindfulness and mindset can do for you. And if you're spirituality, mystics, you're a clear channel. So fast forward, and I get the email, Facebook message, and I'm not about to leave the person out in the cold because I know my friend has no friends. Because they're a human being who has built nothing except for convenience, I know they have one human being friend, and I know this because that same friend is the one who didn't invite them to come out when they were in the home after being dumped. Their first wake up call from life: become your own man, become your own piece of masculine. Dumped after 14 years of girlfriend, boyfriend, at home, vomiting, not doing anything, depressed. The friend, his only best friend, isn't inviting him to come out. That's because you will pick up what you see. My friend is of convenience. So I knew this of my friend. I didn't have any issue with it because I love them just the way they are. They're not taking anything away from me. We've always had a good time. No reason for me not to be friends with a human being. We're all, again, imperfect and flawed. And lo and behold, the same thing. So it happens again. This time he gets hit really hard, though. So he's been dumped. He's paid money for wedding. He was going to get married. He's getting dumped, ghosted, all of this tragedy. His business fails miserably, bankrupt. Not even a little bit, like humongous. There's debt. My friend, I didn't know this until I found out, but he did enjoy the cocaine business, fucking business, and drinking business. But the thing about the fucking business is his Achilles heel is what I would tell him. I said, look, you don't need one person to find meaning. You are the meaning. The person accompanies you. Your Achilles heel. And I said, this time you got in the shithole because otherwise you'd be doing all that stuff that isn't helpful. And they admitted it. So they knew that had they had the money like they did the last time, they would have been able to go out, have a good time, and do all over again. This time they could not. They had nowhere to go except for be and one friend. One friend that would be there. And the one friend doesn't do drugs, doesn't do alcohol like that, doesn't do partying like that, and doesn't have a big bank account either. So there is no way for them to go and do any of that distracting business. But at the same time, they don't move into healing that rejection wound. So the long story short is, only if you notice about yourself. So today we have good experts that are informing people. The ones who want to go and get that stuff on a roll, they're going to find themselves empowered. And that's because they're going to get that ego self, left, right. Again, this is how I'm equating it to you, and become their inner child adults, because they're going to see, soothe, secure, safe, secure. So you learn how to regulate yourself, and then you're processing, again, with forgiveness, your own stuff. And everybody has a different story. So like my friend, it's a very basic secure attachment, I think, pretty much because they haven't ever had any extreme. So they've not become addicted to anything. They also are simply put a member of society who wants to be welcome. So their childhood wound is what I'm going to say is what is key in this story, at least. And what I learned is that their buffoonery, as well as them doing everything for convenience, was their way of having unfaced fears, a fear of abandonment, a fear of rejection. I'm not worthy. That's that childhood trauma stuff. I am unlovable. I'm not good, decent. That what gave it away even more is when their clairs were awakening, and they said to me, because this was during one of the peak ascension moments, and so my clairs were already here. I had twin flame 1, and I got 2 and 3, and my friend knows all about it, although they don't believe in any mystic stuff. But once I found that out, I stopped sharing with them all of my experiences, because that's where we had a nice conversation about that one. So they tell me I don't want to be any more different than I already am. So now I know, and here's your social system. So you have attachment system from your childhood, and that's your first alloparenting group, the people who will give you this. Then you're going to have your peers. Now you're telling me you don't want society to see you as different, because your clairs are going to make you different, which is why I don't talk to him about my clairs, because instead of letting me know that he finds it all buffoonery, I don't. Again, I'm a mystic, and spirituality, it's taken seriously. We do things differently than, what 4D thinks is the right way, but the point is that it's a relationship with something that is sacred for us. So anyone who wants to dismiss it and make it into buffoonery, or just, we don't have to share this. This is not part of your life. It's okay. Just tell me. So in my case, I waited till we were in the car to let my friend know how upset I was about this, and how I was not going to involve him in any more of it, because the fact that you don't believe in God, you don't believe in any of what is spirituality, to me, it's part of me. So it's not about belief, it's who I am. If you're going to, so also the use of time. Very important not to use each other's times in ways that are not intellectually and emotionally of interest to each other. That's the other part. I value my friend's time, so we can all know how to make it into an enjoyable moment, because that's what you care about. You care about sharing heart-to-heart moments. So if you are emotionally, mentally uninterested in a topic, I can try to make sure, and we all can, work it out, because that's how it works. So grown-ups know how to say, okay, so we have these interests that are the same, and we like to do these things from the heart, and you build meaningful connections. So my friend and I, perfect example of how you can always repair ruptures, and you can always learn about each other. Nobody changes, because we're either ourself authentically and expanding, or like my friend, he kept his childhood stuff, and he's leading a happy life, but he didn't heal it. So he did not empower the entirety of what he could have become. His ego's in the lead. His self remains a lesser component, because when you don't heal your abandonment, rejection, your all these wounds, you are still learning about yourself. In fact, it's through other means that you're going to be learning. And so through that, I will leave it alone, because we're running out of light and time. But the inner child adult, who's a differentiated self, those of us who are being ourselves with flaws and integrity, mindfully or spiritually, we don't hide who we are. We present to you who we are. We accept you who you are. And what doesn't work, we talk about it, like with my friend, and then we recalibrate it. So you'll always find that a person who has opened their heart to you, if they're open-hearted and open-minded, they won't be dismissing your emotional plane. They will be able to have an inner child adult, functional adult conversation. They won't block, unfriend. They won't do any of the, in-between business you see happening out there, because they have mental, emotional, and physical mastery and intelligence, because that's what it means. If you are living mindfully and spiritually, you are welcoming more people, not less. If you are blocking, unfriending, and doing anything that is in the black and white thinking, that's an adaptive child part. That means that there's rigidity. That means that there's a lack of integration. That means that there's a trauma charge or more that is not being seen, so there is no mindfully aware person. There is no self-aware human being. There's a person who wants to use the words but isn't taking the time to notice my charge, my rigidity, my unforgiveness, where I get all pissy in my pants. That's mine to take a look at, not to project. That's why the therapists are great, because if there's deeper stuff, unfaced fears as they come up, you handle them with them, and you disengage from the adaptive child pattern of behaviors, which don't need to be pathologized. You also disengage from the maladaptive child pattern of behaviors, which means the drugs, the fucking, the drinking, and that which is let me suppress. So those patterns, people don't take them seriously because they don't really have the awareness of how straightforward it is. So I try to explain to you words that mean something that I see in the day to day, like structural dissociation. It has happened. When I've shared it, no, I was conscious. No, I know you're conscious, but you're playing out your childhood with your relationship. So your attachment system is one you'll be playing out. That's your karma one. Karma two is your adolescent. You're going to play out the same dynamic from home with your peers. As long as you don't see your 0 to 16-year-old, your fight response in these boxing gloves that people have and their superhero capes, it's the empowerment justice fourth step to healing trauma that they're out there doing it. They're projecting with trust and pain and trauma versus being in a therapist room with a community to heal and to welcome all of their self back home and to become self empowered, truly confident, and then equanimous and forgiving. It's only once you do have the heart to say, I forgive and have balanced out my family and my entire whatever it is, my stuff, right? So it's the family, transgenerational trauma, the cultural trauma. It's once you can be an empowered, enlightened person that you know we're all imperfect, flawed. So it starts with your home, then it moves to society, your peers, then it moves to humanity. So being able to have the energy of humble, it is that we're all flawed and perfect. We don't need a story. We don't need demons. We don't need a story. We can understand the emotional. I'm talking to you for personal development, expansion of your brain, integration. So balancing it out is straightforward. You don't go around with the charge. That's called modulated embodiment. So they're not mindfully aware because they're not trying to get their body to restorative embodiment, which is their health, inner and outer well-being. So you're not trying to walk the walk and talk the talk of mindfulness or spirituality, at least for the group of the mystics and or the group who have holistic in the forefront. The ones who have the mantles of mental health, they have a mantle, because if they were in favor of mental health, then you include all people that need support, not just some people. So you don't stay in a charge with the mantle. You allow yourself to work with your colleagues, all of them, because you're happy. You're happy that we can heal people from trauma charges to trust breaks to childhood stuff. So again, you're welcoming that we can have all people become securely attached in their whole self. Again, we focus here on self-help, personal development. So the topics that people get into on the other end, that's where it's not here. Okay, we have enough lighting to where I can say thank you so much for showing up, and like, share, and subscribe if you did find this something that you enjoy, but also it helps the channel grow. If you know people who do want to hear about voices, stories, perspectives, and they do enjoy doing mindfulness and spirituality, the real deal, the 5D vibration at least. So 4D, their real deal. Well, we'll make fun of them a little bit tomorrow, not right now, but they have a lot of real deals going on. Like, let's see, we got flat earthers, we got scientists using AI to disprove reality. We have people talking about the moon is not real, the Earth is not. You name it. We got people talking about volcanoes and demons coming out from the volcanoes. So, okay, we'll be back again tomorrow. Thank you for stopping by. Oh, we might be back later. You never know. There might be a late HP show. P.S.